Howdy, and welcome to another YouTube video. I want to talk about Charlie Kirk in detail today, and I'm having issues doing so simply because I don't want to come off as hateful, and that's what it boils down to. It's not what Charlie would want. He adamantly preached getting to know your neighbor, getting to know everyone around you, and talking and coming together, and it's at the point to where America seems to be more divided now than ever. There are so many people on social media that are openly cheering for his death, saying it's a good thing that he was a bigot, and he was a Nazi, and he was a racist, and he had it coming, which is fucking crazy. There are so many people that are also coming together for this too. I've seen Shoe on Head make a statement. I've seen Hassan's uncle make a statement. And basically, I'm not saying you need to make a misstatement on Charlie. I'm just saying what needs to happen. This violence needs to stop. And I don't think it's going to stop, and it's only going to get worse. There are so many radical leftists right now in society, and they're interweaved everywhere. And they're making themselves really known right now, and it's terrifying to see. They're everywhere. They're every aspect. They're in the military. They're teachers. They're firefighters. They're everywhere, and they are hateful human beings, and they wear the flesh of people, but they are demons among us. If you're openly cheering for someone dying, you are the problem in America. That's enough of me monologuing about that. Today, this video, I wanted to go over Asmongold, actually. He made a response video, and I haven't seen it yet, but I know it's probably going to be some of the same points that I'm echoing because he, believe it or not, is a logical guy. He is a logic-centered human being. He's more of a centrist-leaning left. I'd say Charlie was more centrist right, a little further right than Asmongold is left, but still, Kirk was a centrist, a moderate. And that's the interesting thing, too, is from what I'm seeing on social media, the amount of people that are delusional and don't understand where the political spectrum actually lies, and calling Asmongold a right-winger and calling Charlie Kirk a right-winger makes me realize if I was killed, they would also call me a right-winger and a Nazi and a bigot and a racist and a homophobe and a xenophobe and every other phobic word that they can randomly apply to you arbitrarily without any facts of proof or misquoted statements or half contextualized videos, which is what they're doing to Charlie at the moment. It's disgusting. But I want to see what Asmongold has to say because I personally don't believe society is going to come together anytime soon. It's only going to get worse. And I want to see if he agrees. If you want to go watch this, I'm going to put his video down in the description. If you want to watch him without my dog shit commentary, please do.
Hey guys, it's me again, and it's been a little while. Just before I get into the main topic of the video, I want to explain why there haven't been any videos. My dad's been in the hospital for the better part of a week now.
And he's doing the right thing and spending time with his family.
Very serious situation. It has required my full
I'll be honest,
attention.
I'm surprised he's still on YouTube.
Because of that, I've been on calls,
he's still on
dealing
stream
with other people, talking to members of the family, and doing everything.
There's a certain level of wealth that when you hit in life, you don't have to do anything for the rest of your life. But Asmongold is still doing this. I want to say his net worth's probably in the hundreds of million range or around there, maybe 50 million to upper 100 million. He is uber rich and is richer than he's ever been and has enough money to live for the rest of his life, but he is still making content. That tells me he's doing it for the love of the game, not for money.
Everything that I need.
That's why I actually like Asmongold.
For my family during this situation, and
he's
because
genuine.
of that, I haven't been live and I haven't made a lot of videos. And I apologize for that. Hopefully, I'll be back as soon as possible.
And he's also humble, apologizing for spending time with his dying father instead of making YouTube.
And I was able to break away a little bit earlier, and I wanted to make a video about it and talk about the obvious and inevitable nature of the assassination of Charlie Kirk.
Assassination culture is on a rise.
This happened a few hours ago, and it was probably one of the most gruesome and graphic, and this is coming from somebody who grew up on LiveLeak, videos I've ever
those
seen.
Chinese steel workers were fucking terrifying, but nothing takes the cake like seeing someone who is openly engaging in good faith debate with random strangers getting shot in the neck. It was just as jarring watching the Ukrainian refugee get stabbed and bleed out in a chair, crying herself to death. That was emotionally jarring as well. You want to talk about radicalization? There's a lot of radicalization happening in America right now, and it's not just the left that's radicalized. They're about to speed run a youth group that's probably going to be just as bad as Hitler. And I'm not going to be surprised.
I thought it was AI generated. The guy gets shot in the neck, and blood is spurting out. I didn't even know it could do that. And
blood is squirting because he hit the carotid artery. It's the one directly connected to your heart. It's the one artery in your neck where you basically hit, you're almost guaranteed to die because a wound like that causes you to lose all of your blood very rapidly, and it's almost impossible to stitch up in time. It is an injury that almost always will result in death. There's a few veins on your body. You hit those, you die. I saw the original video for Kirk, and I was hopeful, and then I saw a different video that was much closer, and I realized that hope was misplaced and that the death was coming at any point in time. I've also seen a video of Hassan Piker screaming, "Holy shit, this is crazy," and that's rightfully so. Seeing someone die in live should be jarring. Anyone cheering after seeing some crazy fucking video like that is either subhuman or didn't actually watch the video.
And it was absolutely fucking horrifying to see something like that happen in front of a massive audience of people. Now, if you don't know who Charlie Kirk is, Charlie Kirk has been a pretty noteworthy, controversial guy. He's a conservative. He goes to...
I'm sorry. I don't have ADHD. My brain moves at a little faster rate than everyone else. I need to speed him up.
Of college campuses.
I like Asmon, but he speaks too slow for me.
This is a pretty popular format nowadays, and Charlie Kirk has been popularizing it and utilizing it now for many years. And
it's a good weapon, too, because Charlie would engage in open debate and show people that think they know everything and that they just repeat half-assed Twitter talking points that they can't actually articulate their ideas. It was to engage people in critical thinking so they'd learn to be able to defend themselves. It wasn't to say, I'm right. It's to say, show me why you're right. Let me know where you're coming from, and maybe we can come to an understanding between two human beings. And that's why what he was doing was so crucial. They, unfortunately, have turned him into a martyr.
Featured in South Park recently because of it. Charlie Kirk definitely is not a...
South Park, by the way, has now recalled the episode. They have taken it off. They have removed it from air. I don't believe you can watch it anymore, which is a step in the wrong direction. Charlie leaned heavily into the jokes. He understood what he did would be ridiculed, and he thought it was funny, and... basically, all the left can do is make fun of you, and if they see that it affects you, they'll make fun of you further. So he leaned into the joke, and it worked wonderfully.
Radical right-wing person, but I would say that he's more of the moderate to, kind of extreme right-wing. Very, very...
He is on the scale of centrist, libertarian, basically he's a centrist. Moderates are considered the people that kind of are in the middle. They're not too far. He was on the outskirts of it. He was a moderate-leaning right. I would say he's close to the end, but he was still on the right side. That much was very clear. The reason why they're called moderates is because they're willing to come together and they agree on most things. There's some finer points in life. Him was abortion. He was a firm and adamant believer that there is no reason for ever there to be a medical abortion, and people would purposely get his words misconstrued, and they would constantly clip it out of context on Twitter. He believed there was no reason for medical abortion ever unless you're basically going to die from the birth. You should then get abortion. Opposed to what's used now is healthcare or birth control is a form of abortion. He believes that's abhorrent and disgusting, and rightfully so. If you're using abortion as a form of birth control, that's pretty fucked up. I'm not here to argue about it. I personally find it morally reprehensible.
And this is where we're going, especially compared to now. And what I think is going to happen now, because obviously these shootings like this don't really happen inside of a vacuum. And they never do. They never have. And I think that the situation that we have right now is that there is a tremendous amount of political violence that is advocated for, promoted. And
we had two Democrats executed 3 months ago by some crazy ass Democrat who said he was doing it for Tim Walz. Came out with some crazy fucking letter basically saying he was doing it for Tim Walz. We had fucking school shooting from some trans retard. We had another school shooting a few years ago from some trans retard. I think there was a high school shooting yesterday as well at Charlie Kirk's event. We have the DNC who just got a bomb threat today. Violence is on an uptick.
And allowed to exist on social media that has turned up the temperature in all political conversations, all social conversations, and all discourse on the internet.
And it's mainly because all social media is letting this shit fester. They're letting dog whistles go unchecked. Look at twitch.com. You have Hassan Piker saying Nick Fuentes needs to get assaulted 2 days ago. Not even 2 days ago, 1 day ago, and then Charlie dies the next day, and he's like, we need to tone down the political rhetoric, guys. This is the issue. They shouldn't have been able to let him not be banned for saying that. He's also called for the death of the senator previously. I've also made a video about it. I'm not going to get into it further. He called for the death of the senator and then tried to use coded language saying they should do it instead and that he was misunderstood but still received a day ban from Twitch. The political rhetoric is allowed to go unchecked with dog whistles from people who have infiltrated companies, and the terms of service are only ever truly enforced on people they politically disagree with. If they politically agree with your viewpoint, they'll let it slide until it's so egregious and it's so big that they can't let it slide. Then they'll do the least amount of action humanly possible to get people to fuck off. They're corporations, but they're run by people that are politically biased.
In general, to a point where it's almost unrecoverable. You have people that are out there all the time advocating for violence, advocating for people to get killed. Somebody needs to take care of this guy.
You see somebody needs to take care of this guy on Twitter, Reddit, Blue Sky, Kick.com, Twitch.com, TikTok. It's everywhere. That is a dog whistle to kill someone. You are calling for someone to be killed. That is not legal in any of the 50 United States. That is not free speech.
needs to deal with this. I wish he were dead. Won't somebody do it? The 8647, all of the...
Oh, yeah, the famous dog whistle, 8647, basically means to remove someone from power, to execute, to kill, remove by any means necessary, which is in this almost always case from these people. I'm not giving them good faith arguments, means to kill. And 47 for the 47th president, 45, 47, Donald Trump. And 48 now, let's be honest.
Crypto messaging and all the doxing, right? Joke. Why do you dox somebody? Why do you post the person's home address? It's to make other people that are insane, like the person who killed Charlie Kirk, it's to give them the ammunition they need to kill that person. And
yes, it is a dog whistle hoping some mentally unhinged retard actually decides, you know what? I live close to that. I could do something about this. And in their echo chambers, they encourage it heavily. That's why doxing is such a prominent weapon of the left. That's why swatting is such a prominent weapon of the left. When you SWAT someone, you're intending for them to get killed. You don't SWAT someone for fun. You SWAT someone hoping the police go a little too guns crazy and shoot first and ask questions later.
And to put that person's life in danger. That's why they're doing it.
They want you to be feared. They want you dead. They use Gestapo tactics.
That's the reason why they want to find out the identity.
For those who don't know, Gestapo were the people who basically were enforcing Nazi Germany's rule and who were up while Nazi Party was coming into power, were using intimidation tactics to silence political dissent. They were literally using violence to silence political dissent. Who right now just used violence to silence Charlie Kirk in America? Oh, that would be the leftists who call everyone Nazis using literal Nazi tactics.
Of Tesla owners, like at the beginning of the year, it's so they can destroy their car and destroy their lives. And
that's why they were getting charged with federal hate crimes.
I think that in the last 5 years or so, especially since BLM, it's been a like...
BLM got a blanket check to burn down any city they disagreed with. During a time when COVID was so deadly, it was killing everyone, people were protesting in the street, ass to dick to other people. And somehow it's okay for them to be out there, but I have to be 6 feet apart. I can't go see my grandmother dying in a hospital because I might get her sick. But everyone's allowed to go protest, ass to cheek. Yeah, that's totally fine. Like, this was so asinine, and it was so unenforced, and it was so clear that it was politically biased that people who refuse to acknowledge it are the problem.
90% left-wing thing, but that doesn't mean that the 10% right-wing people are right either. But I do think that now
there are radicals on both sides. Yes,
balancing out those scales. The fact
I'm willing to bet the person who called a bomb threat on the DNC is not a radical leftist, 100%, and I'm not surprised.
Is that you can take a knife to a gunfight all you want, and you can think that you're honorable, but you're going to end up being dead. And I think
the truth is the person who wins the knife fight is the one who bleeds out on the ambulance. Violence begets violence begets violence. It's never-ending cycle. And there are going to be people who want vengeance for Charlie Kirk. It's already all over Twitter. People who are going too far on the right, saying if I'm going to be called a Nazi, might as well go down like a Nazi. There is some crazy shit happening, and it's not getting better.
I think that's what right-wing people have done for a very long time. They've tried to speak above the political violence. They've tried to advocate above it and not try to stoop down to that level. But the issue is that a lot of these social media companies have expressed literally zero desire to even do the bare minimum of moderation.
No,
I think that
because that requires effort and money.
Twitter or X and Reddit. Both of these platforms are full of a bunch of extremist nut jobs that not only should have their accounts banned, but they should probably be put in mental institutions.
Yes. The FBI probably should do a mental wellness check on anyone cheering for Charlie Kirk's death, and they should do a no-knock raid on anyone saying, you're next. Like, these people don't belong in society. This is a level of mental illness, and they are making themselves known. People ask how a Ukrainian refugee gets stabbed by a homeless man with 14 convictions with schizophrenia, because people refuse to acknowledge mental illness in America.
And I think that now, I find it to be kind of interesting taking
there are signs. They are relevant.
Seeing how many people are coming around to the inevitable reality that this is the only path forward. There are so many people in society now that are just completely unhinged, under-medicated, and really just completely insane that you can't have a person like that running wild out in society. They cause problems for themselves, not to mention everybody else around them. And I think that the society, we need to have an honest conversation about how to deal with these people in a way that, and I'll be real, I don't really care about the people that are crazy.
Yeah. This is Asmongold's probably most extremist take. Basically, if you eliminate 10% of society, you'd have a better society almost immediately. And past generations used to hang horse thieves, no trial necessary. They're guilty of a crime, they got killed. That's what the feudal lords would do as well. They'd kill about 2% of the thieves each year, and that would keep the population under control. When criminals feared the consequences of their crime would drop. It's a common sense understanding. If you have the risk of death for speeding, you'd see speeding drop 90, or you'd have the risk of, if you If the outcome of speeding was you getting shot in the back of the head by the cop the second you're pulled over, speeding would drop 100% overnight. The issue is that everyone, Democrats are so soft on crime now that people really don't care. Career criminals really don't care. They'll do whatever they can and treat it like it's GTA till they're back in the free house and getting 3 hot meals a day. It's fucking crazy. You have to do better things to fix society, and right now there are a lot of glaring fucking holes.
Their well-being and the way that, things are for them, of course, obviously, I wouldn't want it to be bad, but it's certainly not important. What's really important is all of the people who aren't crazy, making sure that people that are not crazy, that are good actors, that are law-abiding citizens, are able to live a life of peace, a life of prosperity, and a life without fear of going on the subway, for example, as at the recent event as well. And I think that every single person in the world deserves to live in a place like that. And I don't want to see, America turn into a PvP server, and it sure seems like it is.
It's getting really fucking close. In order to
prevent that from happening, we need to have honest conversations about what do you do with people that get arrested 14 times, and it's not even
the honest answer. Either execute them or put them in a mental institute until they can show they have been rehabilitated. I say it by maybe multiple different psychiatrists, just so you don't have a bleeding heart one. Let them out too early. There are steps that can be done, but no one is doing any steps, and that's why it's getting this bad.
It's not even a question.
It's
right?
people that'll grandstand on Twitter for Twitter points, and that's it.
And that way you can make the money back from imprisoning them forever. That's the way that you solve that.
Yeah, use a gerbil wheel, hook it up to the power grid, make the homeless crazy people run on there 10 hours a day, or they get executed. Like, solve the problem. Preach power for everyone else.
Actually, but for some reason, the way that makes people feel has made them unwilling to look at this obvious truth. If you look in history, this is what we've always done in history, and it's because it works. And the problem is that now we have so much of the discourse that's dominated by emotional thinking, that's dominated by the most unstable, the most virtuous,
the most mentally retarded motherfuckers who are on 20 different medications because they are so mentally unwell, then demanding and leading discourse. That's not someone you want to have this conversation with. They are mentally unwell. Then the issue is, a lot of our politicians probably tote that line.
Signal the most, ridiculous performative empathy possible, and
yes,
that's defining
performative empathy, not real empathy. Empathy for thee, none for you.
This has become a tremendous detriment to everyone, and I think that with people like the shooter that probably shot Charlie Kirk, with that guy in the subway that stabbed that Ukrainian woman, or with that trans shooter that shut up the school, one thing that's common among all of them is that these people, in almost all cases, were verifiably nuts beforehand, and nothing ever was done about it.
Correct. The trans shooter was clearly fucking unhinged. The amount of different dog whistles and different shit that they had written on their weapons was absurd. Originally, I thought they were a left-leaning trans retard. No, I just realized they were a mentally ill retard. They had so much random shit on there, it's crazy. We have a 14 times convicted felon who 14 times convicted criminal who murdered a Ukrainian refugee on a train. Said, I got the white girl, and then tried to justify it by saying she called me the N-word. This is mental illness on full display. The dude that just shot Charlie Kirk is going to be mentally ill as well, because no one in their right mind thinks that needs to happen. They're going to be mentally ill. This is mental illness. We're not doing anything about it, and these people are allowed free reign in society.
And until we can stomach the idea of solving problems like that before they happen, we're going to keep having problems. And
Asmongold is no longer being a centrist. He is saying action needs to be taken immediately. He's not being a fence sitter. He is saying action needs to be taken immediately.
I think that with Charlie Kirk, it's very obvious that the amount of, political violence and advocating for political violence that's happening on the internet has turned up the temperature and created an environment and a culture where this type of behavior is normal. And not only is it normal, but it's actually encouraged. And the problem is that now people are acting on it, and you're starting to see this happen, and I think it's going to continue getting worse. I don't think Charlie Kirk is going to be the last one, but I think that we will look at Charlie Kirk's death and see it as a turning point in this topic.
Yes, people are comparing it to MLK, civil rights action. A man who was willing to openly debate and engage with anyone in the realm of free ideas was just brutally killed in front of everyone on TV and recorded, and you have a big portion of society, I say big portion, sorry, you have a fraction of society, 5 to 10% of these radical leftists that are going unhinged, foaming at the mouth, clapping for more. That is very, very bad. You cannot engage with these people. They are mentally distressed, and they will laugh when you die too.
And what I'm really trying to get at here with this entire point is that right now we are at a extremely pivotal moment. And I think that what's going to end up happening is that right-wing people are not going to continue to turn the other cheek. They're not going to continue to...
They are already seeking vengeance. DNC just got bomb threats today.
I think you're probably going to see right-wing people doing the same thing to left-wing people. And honestly, while
I know people might consider this a hot take, but the right wing has done everything they can to rein everyone that has been bad faith or been bad arguments in the recent years, and leftists have done nothing but allow their people to slide further and further left in the cult of ideology. Where now, if you call them out, you're completely excommunicated, and that's normal, and that's expected. It's fucking wild.
I don't think this is a good thing. I certainly don't really feel that sorry for them.
I use Ethan Klein as an example. He wasn't a leftist, he was a Democrat, he was very left in American politics, but he agreed with Hassan Piker on 99% of things. He just said that maybe we shouldn't have terrorism, and maybe we shouldn't be cheering on October 7th when Hamas glides over the wall in Israel and starts killing innocent civilians. And that was enough to get him exiled. That point specifically. 99% of what they agree on. But unfortunately, you don't support terrorism, you're out of here. What the fuck are we doing?
Because a lot of left-wing people have no problem advocating for violence.
No, they openly do it all the time. Hassan Piker just yesterday or 2 days ago was calling for Nick Fuentes to be assaulted. Next day, Charlie Kirk is killed. Did Twitch ban him? No.
Oh, well, this isn't actually what they meant, and no, this is actually some other... No.
Yes, these leftists, it's called mental gymnastics. They give the most good faith argument humanly possible because they pretend you're a retard and they don't want you to actually use your brain. They want to tell you what this person meant to do so that way they're not a bad person, no matter what action they do. It is stupid, it is belittling, and if you actually fall for this, you are mentally challenged.
No, it is. It is exactly what they mean. They're trying to advocate for killing people that they disagree with. That's what's happening, and there's no talking around.
They're doing the best they can to encourage some radical to do it for them.
Anyone that you're speaking to. And
it's
I think
obvious.
Now you're going to start seeing a lot of right-wing people end up doing this to left-wing people now even more, because it's very clear that these social media platforms are not going to moderate this behavior.
It's like a modern
the
day
FBI, for whatever reason, just refuses to deal with or have any degree of
accountability for
dealing with these obvious terrorists
like
in the country. And because of that, I think you're going to start seeing an uptick of violence from right-wing people as well. And this is going to be, in my opinion, I don't really think the word is justified, because
I don't think people really understand the gravity of the situation. Leftists really don't understand the gravity of the situation. When you have one member of society, the left, that have trouble and anxiety ordering meals, really going to go toe-to-toe with the right-wing members of society that are saying, hey, we could solve the crime population immediately and save taxpayers' money. Just give me a gun in 5 minutes. I don't think you're prepared for the level of violence one side is going to be able to achieve versus the other. This is why the right-wing extremism has been finally kept under a tooth comb, under lock and key, have been held back for so long, and it's at the point where people are fatigued and everyone's getting called a Nazi, and now they're going to start letting go, and these crazed people who actually know how to use guns and actually have a want for violence and don't have 20 million mental disabilities and anxieties that they're drugged up for holding them back, they're going to be running free, and it's going to get bad for everyone.
Because it's not justified.
It is the worst outcome, and it's where we are rapidly heading.
I think it's going to be expected. The fact is that, again, you bring a knife to a gunfight, you're going to lose. And don't be surprised when you keep bringing guns to gunfights, and then somebody else decides to start shooting back. I think that's what's going to happen. And I think...
Not funny enough, crazy enough, yesterday during the Charlie Kirk assassination, there was an old man in the crowd who had a BB gun with him, who then started flashing it, acting like he killed Charlie Kirk and tried to run, and was begging for the cops to shoot him. You also had a guy in the front row who started randomly, happily cheering after Charlie Kirk got shot in the neck, started, USA, happily cheering. I'm not giving anyone a good faith argument. There's mental illness, and it's everywhere. In a crowd of people, we have one that shot Charlie Kirk, one that tried to act like he shot Charlie Kirk, and a guy that immediately starts cheering that Charlie Kirk got shot. This is fucking crazy.
I think this is a degradation of society as a whole, and ultimately the
moral fabric of society has never been more decayed.
Doesn't really fall on influencers, and I don't think that it falls even on the commenters themselves. I think it falls primarily on the government. The fact is that the
government needs to take action, and unfortunately, it's going to ruin freedom of speech. That's the only way I can see them taking action that'll be effective, because social media has proven time and time again they won't act unless they're forced to. They won't waste money unless the government tells them to, or they'll be shut down and then they make no money.
government, there are already laws that permit, explicit calls to violence. There's already laws that permit the types of stalking and doxing that people engage in online. And one of the big things that is a misconception is that people like me want new laws. We want any form of extra censorship at all. I certainly don't want that, and I don't know anybody else that does either. But what we do want is we want the existing laws to be applied and to be enforced in an accurate and a fair way, which is
they aren't.
Clearly not what's happening. And really,
like Hassan, for instance, recently docked a bunch of Democrats because they were part of some go out and vote campaign. He said that they're basically Israeli shills. Frogan was also a part of that list. But in part of that, pulled up a document that had people's names and addresses and not their zip code, but the extra zip code basically says where you live almost exactly, like GPS code. He pulled that up on stream, basically had it up and let everyone in his audience see on some video. I think it was a Bad Infinata video. It was some crazy shit like that. That's doxing. That's illegal. He lives in California. He could be brought on charges. Like, will he? No. Is what he did illegal? Yes. The laws are not being enforced. That's the issue.
The government not doing that and giving this asymmetrical...
I still think more laws are going to come from this. I don't think they should, but I think there will be
with complete freedom, practice genuine terrorism on a daily basis, and then, congratulate each other about how moral and how good they are for doing it, because something bad that happened in Palestine or something bad that Donald Trump did 3 years ago. This is just simply a response. This is
it was 5 years ago, by the way.
And so, and I think that that's probably what it's going to take for these left-wing people to realize what a bad idea what they've been doing is. Because until it starts happening to them, until they start having people that are their friends or their like icons,
their influencers,
like people looked up to
their
Charlie
speakers,
Kirk, until they start seeing those people get killed, I don't think it's really going to be real for them. And unfortunately, I think that's the path that we're headed down.
They honestly believe they're morally right and what they're doing is perfectly acceptable, so they cannot comprehend evil happening to them. I think that they're that delusional. I think that's where they're at. I don't want bad things to happen to them. But at this point, you're radicalizing enough people rapidly to where it's going to happen.
Because of the government and social media companies and every other seemingly governmental apparatus that has just completely hand-waved this problem and ignored it entirely. So,
when people were calling for Elon Musk to be killed simply because he was supporting Trump was probably the most jarring thing I could possibly imagine. Them calling for Teslas to be burned, and Teslas were burned, is the most jarring thing I could imagine. Because this is very clearly radical hate speech, but then you have people that are actually going out and doing it. The writing's been on the walls forever. Unfortunately, it's just about to be way more bloody for everyone to clearly read.
The death of Charlie Kirk and the assassination of him should not come as a surprise to anyone. This should be something that everybody could have expected. All you had to do is read Twitter for an hour and you could have told me this would have happened, of course.
You'll notice how he's not pointing out Reddit directly? Because the issue doesn't just exist on Reddit. I know I make videos bashing Reddit, but it's everywhere. It's everywhere. People make burner accounts, they make bot accounts, they make death threats on the open. It's everywhere. I don't want social media to become a cesspool where you have to do ID verification. I want the laws in place and the terms of service to be upheld right now. Fix the problem immediately.
Same with Reddit. And until that core problem is addressed, you will continue to see a
I'm not going to
any type of social discourse. And I'm actually kind of afraid to see what's going to happen next, because I think it's just going to continue getting worse, and I don't see the reason for it to stop. And so anyway, I wanted to make this video because it's obviously a topic that, I've been talking about this a lot for the past few years now, and I was laughed at a lot, and people were telling me it wasn't that big of a deal, and they were joking. Well, I saw the video. That wasn't a joke. And the reality is that those...
Yeah, you have Gavin Newsom posting an AI-generated photo of him holding Heinz ketchup on a stage, reenacting the photo after Donald Trump just took a bullet to the ear and almost died. You want to talk about some batshit crazy stuff? That's something that is a big red flag in my book. And yes, Gavin Newsom came out and said, I stand with Charlie Kirk, this should never be acceptable. But I'm sorry, my guy. You're posting some crazy-ass pictures making fun of someone who survived an assassination attempt. We're talking about some crazy shit here, and you're helping.
Jokes and everything create a culture and an environment where the actual actions are more permissible.
Yes.
And you also have people that are the ones telling the
permissible or encouraged.
They're talking around directly, saying that this is a bad thing and it shouldn't be tolerated for any reason. You have, I don't want to go through a bunch of different names, but anybody, this is the way I look at it. I'm just going to make a categorical judgment here.
Anyone who is openly cheering or promoting for political death or violence is the problem.
Is that any content creator or anybody like this who has been advocating for violence against a person in an extrajudicial way. I'm not talking about trying people who they disagree with for treason. This is advocating for the judicial process to be used against people they disagree with. I think
yes.
That's fine. But
there's a caveat. If you're saying this person's committing treason and they need to be charged for it, and obviously that treason, if you're charged with treason, you expect to be executed. If someone is committing treason, that's not the same as saying you want them killed. You want them judicially processed and for the charges to be submitted, for them to get their day in court, and for them to be found guilty of treason. Not someone arbitrarily saying, I find you guilty of treason and I'm going to go Punisher style on your ass. Not the same.
Whenever you have people that are saying things like 8647, or anybody who's advocating for any form
previous
of
FBI director saying 8647 and acting like he has no idea what it means is fucking
and basically
crazy.
Vigilante justice on people who they disagree with politically, you have to realize that all of those people, I think, have made themselves acceptable targets. And I think that there's a lot and millions of people out there nowadays that see that. And I think that that should be extremely worrying for them. It should be terrifying. But the reality is that they have created that environment themselves.
You have leftists that are openly cheering who are being doxxed actively on Twitter. It's not going to be that long till one of them is brutally murdered. It's not going to be that long. I've seen multiple people get fully doxxed in the military, school teachers, college students, hospital workers, government employees openly cheering, openly being fired, all of their addresses online, all of their full names online, and now they're fired from their jobs, so they're going to be home all day. I'm just like, this is a recipe for disaster.
Through their own actions, through their behavior, and through their own words. You reap what you sow. And I think that things are about to get a whole lot worse.
Asmongold saying, have no empathy for the retards that have brought this upon themselves.
Well, anyway, guys, I wanted to make this video and talk about it, and that's about all I've got to say. So I hope to be back soon. I'll record videos when I can, here and there, but for the most part, as I said before, my dad has had so many really serious issues going on. I
think him valuing family time over
he's healthy,
enriching himself further when he's already rich makes complete sense. As much as I look forward to
streaming, this has to take priority. I don't have a time frame. It will probably be a matter of weeks, and maybe not even that long until I'm back regularly. And so hopefully that's the case. Anyway, guys, thank you all so much for watching. Rest in peace to Charlie Kirk. Another senseless death that never needed to happen. And I think that anybody who was, talking about this and turning up the heat on any of this type of political rhetoric and discussing, or at least, flirting with the idea of political violence, I think all those people have made themselves acceptable targets in all of the worst ways possible. And I don't think that this is a good thing either. But
he's not advocating it. He's just saying these people are literally painting themselves as fucking targets because they're too fucking stupid to realize the consequences of what they're saying. He is not advocating it. He is saying that these people are fucking retarded.
I think it's happened. So anyway, guys, thank you all very much for watching.
That was a good video from Asmongold. I do like Asmongold simply because I find myself to be slightly politically biased. Certain characters like Hassan, I know he's a mental retard, so I never gave him a good faith argument. And it was interesting because for a while, Asmongold had never seen any Hassan videos. So he sort of just let him... So he didn't believe it, basically. He didn't believe that Hassan was as deranged as what everyone was saying until he finally watched the basically content nuke. And at that point, Hassan started calling him a right-winger, racist, homophobic, everything that he could preemptively, and poisoning the well before Asmongold did anything. When Asmongold was giving Hassan the best faith arguments humanly possible. And that was the difference between the two. Asmongold does everything in his power to understandably give people that he knows to be good faith arguments. He will not give someone who is a terrible human being and proven to be a liar a good faith argument, and you shouldn't. It's not how that works. You don't get to take good faith of somebody and continually ring it out after you make call to violence again and again and again and still say, guys, you know what? Maybe the 20th call to violence, I don't think that was a call to violence. I think maybe he's just misunderstood. Either way, I was curious to see what Asmongold would have to say. He is the hot take king, but that was pretty good of him to adequately summarize exactly what I'd say a lot of people are feeling right now. No one wants violence, but the left does not understand the can of worms that they have just opened upon themselves. And I'm sure there's going to be collateral damage in the process. Thank you guys very much for tuning in. If you liked the video, feel free to like it, comment down below, subscribe. Like I said, I'm going to post Asmongold's video in my description just so you can watch it without my dog shit commentary, but I'll catch you in the next video either way. Until then, later.